And we do have the breaking news just coming in. The man accused of trying to assassinate President Donald Trump is found guilty on all 5 counts.
And those jurors deliberated for about 3 hours today in Fort Pierce before delivering the verdict. Local 10's Christina Vasquez is live outside of the courthouse in Fort Pierce with all of the late breaking details. Christina, fill us in.
And dramatic events unfolding as I was here on this sidewalk outside the courthouse to join you live. An Associated Press reporter was still inside. This is after what I heard, which is the jury returning the determination. And what they are reporting happened next is that Ryan Routh then grabbed a pen, tried to stab himself in the neck. The marshals rush in and had to be dragged out of the courtroom. They also report that his adult daughter, who you might remember, Sarah, she was in our news report from yesterday, that she was screaming out about her love and affection for her father. You might remember that she's described her father as her best friend. So here is what the jury determined. Take a look. Guilty on all 5 counts. Now, you might remember it's that first one that is the most significant. So they did find him guilty of attempting to kill Donald Trump when he was a presidential candidate last year.
Keep walking!
A 12-person jury found Ryan Routh guilty of trying to assassinate Donald Trump at Trump's West Palm Beach golf course last year. They also found him guilty on 4 additional related charges.
All units be advised.
During closing arguments, federal prosecutors walking the jury through the mountain of evidence in this case. 38 government witnesses, more than 100 exhibits, which they say shows Routh intended to kill Trump and took substantial steps toward committing that crime by meticulously and obsessively tracking Trump before lying in wait. A loaded rifle with a bullet in the chamber and the safety off, and a sniper hide he created 126 feet from the hole Trump was set to play next. Make no mistake, the federal prosecutor said, Ryan Routh wanted Donald Trump dead and was 1 bullet away.
Individual in the bush with a gun.
Ending on a theme about political violence that voters get to decide. Not one man with some weird agenda and a gun, he said, adding he wanted to silence the voice of his fellow Americans. Nobody gets to decide an election that way. Routh, who is acting as his own attorney, referred to himself in the third person as he shared his interpretation of intent with the jury, telling them the evidence shows he had a clear shot and did not take it. It was golden. It was so easy, he told them. He could have completed the job, 100%, just pulled the trigger, but no intent. The individual could not pull the trigger. It is not in the defendant's heart. The federal judge did have to navigate him back toward making relevant remarks after he drifted off into a speech about the character of the nation and a mention of January 6th. It appears his goal was to present a view of himself to the jury that he is peaceful and nonviolent. It is hard for me to see that a crime occurred, he said, if the trigger was never pulled. And it would appear this jury not buying his interpretation of that word intent, instead siding with prosecutors, believing that they did prove their case, finding him guilty on all 5 counts. So what you're looking at live is what I can see from where I'm joining you live. So we talked about what the Associated Press reporter inside the courtroom saw, right? That Ryan Routh then grabs a pen, tries to stab himself, and an emotional reaction from his daughter, Sarah. So you are looking at Sarah in the white dress, and she's standing next to Adam, which is her brother. They've been here, she says, from Hawaii every single day of the trial, and they're waiting at this guard gate, presumably maybe to see the transport van for their father. Again, Sarah describing her father as her best friend and clearly exhibiting some emotion in the courtroom as this outcome did not come to what she had hoped for her father. And something she spoke about yesterday is obviously facing the fact that her father is now going to be facing a possible sentence of life in prison. Back to you.